people of my generation, there are two really dramatic events which one never forgets. For me, the first one was the assassination of President Kennedy, when at that time I was a graduate student at Yale. And I won't go through the details, but I remember, you know, it was an African-American woman who informed me. I remember her facial expression. The other one is 9/11. And at that time I was in Canada at the University of Toronto. I was president of the University of Toronto. I was in my office and the phone rang, and it was a friend of mine from MIT who said, "Turn on your television immediately." And I turned on the television, and it was before the second plane had hit the tower. And I was in the middle of a meeting, and I had someone with me, and I remember looking at as if this must be like, you know, King Kong, some science fiction thing. This could not actually be happening.
Well, I grew up in Connecticut, around 30 miles outside of New York City. And when 9/11 happened, I was in 3rd grade. It was like my 3rd grade class, and it just seemed like a normal day. This school semester had just started.
I'm older than most students, so I was actually, I think, 14 when it happened. I woke up, it's like the West Coast, and I didn't have school that day, so I woke up around 8 or 9, and I just went up, my dad had the TV on, and I just saw like what was going on, and it was just really shocking and horrifying.
My birthday is in 2 days, and when I was first born, the World Trade Center was bombed. That was 10 years before September 11th actually happened. On my 10th birthday, my mother woke me up and said, "Honey, we're having waffles, but right now you need to be quiet because something just happened to the World Trade Center."
In the evening I was in Ukraine, I was at home, and first I have seen this terrible accident while I was seeing my TV set. And it was terrible, just one word.
This had a huge emotional impact on me and on all of us, because it turned out that on the plane that I watched crash was a young man who I knew well, who was a friend of my son's, had played soccer with my son, and his family were deeply committed to bridging the gap between Christians, Jews, and Muslims, and worked actively on it.
And then towards the middle of the day, students started getting taken out from class, and they told all of us just to like sit tight, there's nothing wrong, don't worry about anything. But obviously we were like little kids, and we were interested in what was going on because everyone was getting taken home. Because I live 30 miles outside New York City, a lot of people commuted into the city and worked in the World Trade Center. So a lot of the kids that were being taken out of class were being taken out of class by the parent who didn't go to commute to New York City because they were worried about their spouse working in Manhattan.
It turned out there were so many stories of our friends, people of my generation, therefore, who had young people who were working in Manhattan and who might have been in the World Trade Center that day, but it turned out, you know, were there at a different hour or such like, right? So in addition to the around 3,000 people who were killed, there were so many other people who might have been, except for a little bit of luck of canceled appointments or such like.
As the years went by, I sort of grew to understand it a bit more. 7th grade, when I tried to bring cupcakes, Miss Castle would not let me pass them out in class. By about 9th grade, I understood that, yeah, thousands of people died, and all of a sudden I wasn't allowed to celebrate. But, you know, as the years go on, you come to adjust, and I guess I see my birthday as a happy day.
It was so dramatic emotionally, and it was just, I know everyone feels this, that it's not that we felt invulnerable, whether it was in the United States or Canada, but we couldn't imagine this happening. And it was really, I think, an important wake-up call for the entire Western world, that we don't live completely separated from other worlds who may view us very differently than we view ourselves.
I think afterwards it had a crucial impact on the whole United States society and all over the world as well.
I know that there was a change in satire, like from post 9/11. People were kind of afraid to make comedic comments about what had happened.
It really has changed our worldviews, and not everyone loves us, and not everyone admires our society, and we've had to learn to deal with the reality of that.
Spend some time looking at politics before 9/11, spend some time looking at politics of the 1950s and 60s, and then take a good long look at how we live in our world today.
I think we've had to work much harder to maintain an equilibrium, and among other things, say here on the Berkeley campus, but it was true in Toronto as well, to make sure that Muslim people and Muslim students were treated fairly and not victimized because of the acts of a few extremists.
I think the biggest thing is that we should learn to be more tolerant of other people. I know that there was a big Muslim backlash and a lot of racism towards Muslims afterwards, and I knew a lot of people who were Sikh in my area because it was a really high Sikh population, and they had spoken to me about how after 9/11 they had been persecuted by people on the street because they thought they were Muslim, and I think we just really need to get to know other people and keep down our racial prejudices, because you really don't know the person.
It is the 10th anniversary, and it's definitely a very sad occasion, and I do think that the country does need to begin healing, and while I'm not saying that we shouldn't think about it anymore, it should definitely be put behind us, and we shouldn't always have to mention it every day as an excuse to do anything as far as going on wars or increasing security or discriminating against Muslims.
There are a few singular events that do shape consciousness, and they shape them for the indefinite future. So I think that in the same way that Kennedy's assassination has shaped our political attitudes for the indefinite future, I think that 9/11 will as well.
When we remember it, we should remember the people who gave their lives, especially first responders, and also the victims, and obviously Flight 93, and the people who prevented the White House from getting hit. Yeah, I think it's really about the victims and remembering them and their legacy.
One thing I think people should do all over the world is to be united. United in the face of such kind of events, treat each other with mutual understanding.